Hi everyone, it's me, Grant the Movie and TV Guy, and I want to start something. I want to start a home called Grant the Movie and TV Guy's Home for Criminally Mistreated Films. I'm Grant the Movie and TV Guy. Chaos Walking, you're the first to be adopted. The next one might just be The Woman in the Window. So The Woman in the Window is the movie I just watched. It's directed by Joe Wright and written by one of my favorite writers, Tracy Letts. Who's also has an uncredited little small part in the film as a therapist. And what's it about? It's based on a novel. The Woman in the Window has a pretty amazing cast. So it has Amy Adams. She plays Dr. Anna Fox. She is a child psychologist, as she often lets people know. She lives in this big house, just this big house, by herself. Well, relatively by herself. She has a tenant named David who lives in the basement, who's played by Wyatt Russell. So she is reeling from a tragedy that we don't know about right away that has left her agoraphobic, meaning she cannot leave the house without panicking and fainting. She has a fear of leaving her residence, and basically what happens is that they establish early on kind of this character, and a family moves in across the street, the Russells. First, she meets a young man named Ethan Russell, the teenage son, who seems like a sweet kid, and then eventually his mother, Jane Russell, shows up. Or does she? Played by the great Julianne Moore. Can I say Julianne Moore? I know she's old enough to be my mother. I don't care. Beautiful lady. Gorgeous. She comes in, house. She hits it off with Anna, and eventually, to Anna's horror, she looks across the window. She might be a tad voyeuristic. She looks across the window at the wrong place at the wrong time and witnesses. She doesn't see who does it, but before you know it, Jane has a knife in her stomach. She's smacking a bloody handprint against the window begging for help, and we never hear from her again. So Anna knows for sure that she was murdered. She knows for sure that Jane was murdered. But when she comes to, after a particular spell involving this, she meets a detective played by Brian Tyree Henry, another terrific actor. And it's been kind of established in the movie that the husband, Alistair, played by Gary Oldman, great cast, might be abusive. He shows up with his wife, Jane Russell, played by Jennifer Jason Leigh. Says, "I'm the real Jane Russell." And of course, Amy Adams says, "That can't be right because you were Julianne Moore before. What's going on? You guys are hiding something." And eventually it comes to a head. And this woman looked through the wrong window and now has to convince people, due to her mental illness, everyone thinks, of course, that she's crazy and doesn't believe her. And so she now has to go out of her way to prove that that Jane, Julianne Moore, was murdered. Here's the thing. And thrills and suspense ensue. Here's the thing about The Woman in the Window. This movie is getting trashed by critics. I think it's like at 28 on Rotten Tomatoes, 29 maybe. It was originally a Fox release. I believe it was the final Fox 2000 picture before Disney bought Fox, and then they kind of closed that studio down. They kind of left it on a shelf. It was shot, I think, in 2018. It was going to come out in 2019, but test screenings were poor. They re-edited and reshot some of it. It was supposed to come out in 2020. But then COVID happened, and they sold it to Netflix, and now we're here. And it's streaming on there. But no one seemed to have a lot of faith in it. It was kind of dumped, despite the amazing cast. I'm going to tell you something. I liked The Woman in the Window. There, I said it. I liked the film. I didn't love the film, and I'll get to why in a second. First off, one thing that did surprise me that I liked is the filmmaking of Joe Wright. I'm not a big fan of this director. I kind of have a bit of a love-hate relationship with him. Not the man himself. I'm sure he's a good fella, but his movies, there's only about two. I've seen just about all his movies, and there's only really two that I genuinely liked. Outside of this, there was Pride and Prejudice, which I believe is his first movie, which I liked quite a bit, and Hannah, with Saoirse Ronan, which I love. It made it into a pretty solid TV show on Amazon, too. Out of that movie. It's a really good movie. I saw it in the theaters a decade ago. It's a great flick. Here's the thing. And it just, this is by far and away one of the better, to me, Joe Wright films. It's very derivative of Hitchcock. But here's the thing, it knows it is. Very early on, in the opening credits, we see right away that, because the obvious comparison is to Rear Window. Rear Window is playing on the TV in Amy Adams' house. So they establish early on that this is going to be, they're kind of meta in how they understand that this is a Hitchcock derivative film. Here's how I break down The Woman in the Window. This is a hard one to review. The first 2 acts of this movie I loved. It was like 4.5 stars. The third act reveal, it went down to 4 stars. I was like, okay, it works, just barely. The climax dropped it down a little more, because here's the thing, the worst part of the movie is the climax. Particularly, not the reveal, but what came after. I thought it was so... It didn't just make a tonal leap in the usual sense. It made a tonal high-rise leap off the very roof of a high-rise. But despite that, and then it kind of ended strong with like a good little epilogue, but my problem was the climax was really silly, the reveal wasn't, but it didn't kill the movie for me. I still really enjoyed this film, and there's not much more to say. I will say this, the cast, like I mentioned, is incredible. Some weird connections in it, because you got Wyatt Russell, you got Jennifer Jason Leigh along with Amy Adams, and you got Julianne Moore, who's not in the movie nearly enough. However, her one big scene is like one of the best scenes in the movie, where she's talking over wine with Amy Adams. Julianne Moore, again, just stunning, amazing actress and beautiful woman, who's great in everything, regardless of anything. And she's great here as well. We also got the young actor, I don't know his name, but he's quite good. He plays the son. We got Brian Tyree Henry and Tracy Letts, of course, but we also have, people in smaller parts like Anthony Mackie. So we got all these amazing actors, and again, it's weird because you got Anthony Mackie, they don't share a scene together in the film, but you got Anthony Mackie and Wyatt Russell. So you got 2 Captain Americas in one movie. If they had Chris Evans, it would be all three of them. You got Sam Wilson and you got John Walker. So that was interesting. You also have Jennifer Jason Leigh as the other Jane Russell, who is of course Daisy Domergue in The Hateful Eight, which had Kurt Russell as John the Hangman Ruth. They didn't get Kurt Russell, but they got his son. So some interesting connections. Gary Oldman. I'll say this. It was weird seeing Gary Oldman because the last Joe Wright movie I saw was Darkest Hour, which, despite getting nominated for Best Picture, I really did not care for that movie. I didn't like it very much. I just thought it was kind of... Lily James was good in it, but Lily James, that's a trump card. The rest of the movie was not. She's always good, but the rest of the movie is just kind of meh. But he's good in this, and everyone's really good in this, and you have all these terrific actors, and I think that's why it makes you wonder why this movie was so mistreated. There's also some great Hitchcock shots in the movie. There's one particularly in the climax, even though the climax I otherwise didn't really care for, that involved, without giving away too much, involved a bloody knife, someone holding a bloody knife, stroking it across a banister toward the camera lens. That was very Hitchcocky, and I really thought that was great. There's some other beautiful shots. There's some great little homages involving the positioning of the house across the street to Amy Adams from the window's point of view. There's another really good shot involving some great shots involving objects around like a blackness. There's kind of like an apple that we in a black void that kind of transitions into like a Duolingo kind of thing, or what's it called, a Rosetta Stone kind of language thing. There's stuff involving snow and a hallucination of a car being in a house covered in snow. Really beautiful shots in this movie. And also, Amy Adams is terrific. I think that undeniably, another beautiful, glamorous lady who is not afraid to really get real here and dress herself down, and I think that, she's great in just about everything. Not Hillbilly Elegy, but she wasn't good in Hillbilly Elegy, but no one could be good in Hillbilly Elegy. I think, I didn't review it, but I think I mentioned to someone that a 90-minute documentary of watching Glenn Close and Amy Adams, Haley Bennett, and Gabriel Basso eating lunch and shooting the shit about acting would be a more entertaining film than Hillbilly Elegy. It would be a chance to watch 4 good actors doing something better than being in that crappy movie. But regardless, she's good in this. Totally dressed down, totally good. So, that's about it for the movie itself. And you know what? This movie's going to be in theaters. I think it should have been. And I wouldn't say it's worth walking 2 blocks, but it's definitely a matinee. I'd give Woman in the Window 3.5 stars. I don't think it was anything spectacular. It's kind of a mess at times, but I think it's not a great movie, but it's a good one, and I think that especially if you like what it's paying homage to, you're gonna like this, and you really go on its wavelength of knowing it's a derivative, but kind of going with it. Another thing is, it was pretty obvious who the killer or the bad guy or gal early on, and was like, yeah. Anyway, but it worked. So anyway, yeah. I like The Woman in the Window. I'll give it 3.5 stars. It's on Netflix right now. Go check it out. All right, close the book on it. Trailer trash. None. I watched it on Netflix, of course. Was there shawarma? No, there was not. However, the early credit, the font is very Hitchcock too. Whoever did the opening and end credits did a really good job. All right. So that's it for The Woman in the Window. Again, I give it 3.5 out of 5 stars. Solid matinee. Later today, very soon, well, not very soon, very soon I'm going to be seeing it. Later I'm going to be reviewing it, Finding You. We're also going to talk today about SNL with Keegan-Michael Key and Olivia Rodrigo. Also, by the way, I did watch the season premiere of High School Musical, the musical, the series. By God, it feels awkward now between her and Joshua Bassett. Just saying. They're, yeah, so then tomorrow, you're a grown man, dude. I know, I like the show. Profile is tomorrow, and then we also got Top Gun on Monday. So, alright. That'll all be next time, and until next time, I'm Grant, the movie and TV guy. See it all, I'm happy to share it with you. Alright. I love you all, appreciate you all. I love you all, Classimus. I love you 3000. Be kind to one another. And be kind to The Woman in the Window. It's not that bad, guys. It's on Netflix. If you have Netflix, it's free to you. It's about like, what was it, like 100 minutes? It's not that long. Go check out The Woman in the Window. It's pretty good. It's pretty solid. I liked it a lot more than I thought I would. Alright. Thank you all. Take care. See you soon.